Hello, everybody. Welcome to Living Christian Ministries. We continue this week with our deep dive into intentionality and how it is we can practice our faith more intentionally in the world around us. And this week, George and I also give you insight into the literature that has inspired us over the years and the authors that have inspired us. But before doing so, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like and comment, and share this video with your family and friends. And if this content has been inspiring to you, not just with the podcast, but with Mary and Mondays, with the Walking with Jesus and the Testimony Tuesdays, with all the shorts we've been doing, I invite you to become a patron at patreon.com/c/Living Christian Ministries. The link will be on the screen above, where we will be doing an exclusive series on apologetics for just $5, a 7-week series for just $5, $5 donation to support our ministry, and we will give a deep dive into the natural apologetics in the 7-week series. We're recording the content right now. It'll hopefully be available within a 5-week span. We'll be continuing to market it for 5 weeks, and then we'll be putting it out there for that 7 weeks. And we'll be doing that for the natural, the Christian, and the Catholic. So we got good content coming. I also hope that if you guys are interested, to record some documents, some church documents, and continue helping you guys and helping the world to better see and get content that we're not so easily able to get at times, because we don't have the time to read it or we don't have the time to do it. So yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, if you're interested in learning more about the faith, you will definitely get that at patreon.com/c/Living Christian Ministries. You will definitely learn how to better evangelize, and you will definitely learn more of what it means to be a light to the world around us. So again, if you've been inspired, if this ministry has supported you or helped you in any way, I just ask in humility, and I thank you for taking the time to even consider. But yeah, to become a patron and to support this ministry, because it's only in your support that we'll be able to continue to grow, that we'll be able to continue to produce content at the level and degree that we are being led to produce it, and ultimately that we'll be able to reach a broader scale. And with that, let's dive into the content that we have for you today. Again, part 2 of literature and intentionality, how it is we can be more intentional with our faith in the world today.
At that point, I lived well. I lived an honest, good life. Even I believe you read it in Plato's Republic, before they even had revelation. The pagan philosophers were able to recognize how, as a man came to the end of his life, he would remember the deeds that he did, for good or for ill. And we want to begin to ask, what do I want to be remembered for at the end of my life? How do I want to be remembered? I believe it was a Catholic priest, Father Larry Richards, another plug. Father Larry Richards, who in one of his books told people, his readers, be a man who knows what he wants to be remembered for. Write down 3 things that you want to be remembered for at the end of your life. Whatever that is, either I want to be a good husband, I want to be remembered as a good father, I want to be remembered as a holy man, as a friend, as whatever it is, a mentor, whatever it is that you want to be remembered for, write it down and then come up with a plan to make sure that happens. Because when we get to the end of our life, we are going to want to be able to look back and be like, maybe I didn't do perfect, but I tried and I did a pretty good job. Make decisions that you're going to be able to be content with. You're going to be able to look back on and be like, I'm glad I made that decision. It doesn't mean we need to make radical decisions of sweeping change, because sometimes those are the decisions that we regret, is when we do make giant changes too quickly. But where do we want to be headed? We want to know where our end is. We want to know where we're going. We want to know who we're living for, who we're fighting for. We want to be on the right side whenever we come out. And whenever we're in our last days, we want to be able to be like, I lived a good life. I was a Christian. And I'm ready and happy to meet the one that loves me. We want to know something of who that guy is, that we're going to meet. We want to know something about what it is to love. And it's going to have to start usually with the people around us. How else are we going to know what love is until we start beginning to at least try to practice it? It's hard. It's not just about giving. It's about receiving. Christian life is not just being miserable all the time, doing things you don't want to do for people that don't deserve it. It's much more complex than that. But self-gift is a great way of being able to get outside of ourselves and our own problems and the things that we can't control. Because a lot of times we can't control what goes on externally. But we can control what we do about it. And if we choose to just smile when someone's obnoxious to us, what's the alternative? The alternative is putting them in their place, and that might work for a while, but what's most likely? Most likely is they're just going to react and be even angrier with us and cause even more issues that are going to make us miserable. Now, we might be entitled sometimes to put someone in their place in a loving and corrective way. Sometimes that's appropriate. We need to have our own dignity respected and upheld. But sometimes just smiling and asking them, what's really going on? Or just choosing to ignore them. There's any number of ways to approach it. But
if you look at the history of the saints, they all respond in different ways too.
That's true. Yeah, some of them were very. Yeah, so you had very different personalities. Some of them were very just gentle, and other ones were very fiery.
Yeah, on the way I was brought to the image of Mother Teresa. I remember hearing the story of when I believe it was in Chicago, where there was a bunch of gangs shooting at their convent or their place to stay, wherever they were at, and all the sisters were afraid to go out and do ministry, and they call Mother Teresa, and she comes down there, and she comes down there, she walks down they're shooting at her, not a bullet touches her. And they're like, Mother, we got business here. And she's like, I got business here too. And then they welcome her in, they have a conversation, and all the shooting stopped. And that reality of she wasn't afraid, she was bold, she had faith, and just went in there and
wow.
And then Vitala God's another one that walks into a strip club, ministers to the women, and then gets killed for it. But yeah, just these saints that are bold about it, and then
Miguel Pro, blessed Miguel Pro. Yeah, he just for being Christian, shot, yelled out "Viva Cristo Rey!" Long live Christ the King, as he was being shot with bullets.
Yeah, but yeah, just that. But yeah, just that reality that there's so many different ways that we can live faithfully and just serve the Lord and follow His way and do His word and something I'm reminded of. There's a video on my channel. You can check it out. Intention without action is just a thought. And just being reminded that not saying about you, just in general, we can talk about all these things, but unless we actually go out and do something, it's just a bunch of thoughts in our head that nope, I almost used somebody's name. I don't want to do we can write all these books about all these things, but unless the writer actually goes and does something about it, it's just dude, you wrote all these books, but you're not actually living this life. But yeah, I think that's what George and I are kind of talking about. There's all these things we can do. There's all these things we should do. But I was saying, we ultimately need to discern, what is God calling us to? Because we have a vocation to maybe one or two or three of these different things, and we got to discern. Maybe you are called to the convent. If you're called to the convent, you can't you can't go to the soup kitchen or you can't go to these other different areas. You're called to a cloistered life. Like, so you're called to that very particular life. And but maybe you are called to be a friar. And if you're called to be a friar, you have that kind of living. So like, or maybe you are a layperson, and if you're a layperson, you have, and you're not married, like you have a way open available. But like we're also talking about the workplace and how we can, and I think like we were talking about, like we have this mentality of like we don't talk about church at work, and I think that's like a mentality we gotta break out of. Like we shouldn't be afraid to like talk about our faith at work. We shouldn't be afraid to cross those barriers. Like obviously we, under the fourth commandment, honor your father and mother.
Yeah,
like,
prudence.
We have to respect our authority figures, and on a technicality, we would say our authority figures are our bosses. But at the same time, our ultimate authority is to God, and we can't let the secular authorities rule us, and we have to not be afraid to speak the truth in the midst of adversity, even if the truth cost us our head, even if the truth cost us our life. We have to be willing to stand up for the faith. But yeah. Did you want to make more plugs on literature? Or just thought on what I just shared.
Well, here in a sec, no, you actually gave me a thought that I did kind of want to share, and it's just that, like, there isn't really a separation of like, work, life, faith, etc. Because like ultimately it's like, truth is truth. Truth is truth, regardless of when, where, how, why, whatever we think about it.
Probably understood, it's all implemented together.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's, exactly. That's why I'm glad you brought it up, because it's like, we go to work and we think, okay, we compartmentalize this, we compartmentalize that, and honestly, we do that. We're like human beings.
It's not like you go to work
helps
and you leave the Catholic faith at home. It's like, no, you go to work and you're still Catholic. It's part of your identity.
Right, and that's why it's so important, like, that we pick, if we're like deciding, where we want to work and all of that. It's so important that we pick somewhere that like upholds Catholic values, that upholds like the dignity, right to life, and I mean, there's
like you almost kind of like let Catholicism at home on your forehead, and then come home and like Catholic again,
and we can't do that,
like,
right?
If you're living like that, like go to confession, like
we can't do that.
Like,
we have
not to judge, but like
because this
like that might be how some people are living, and that's not how Catholicism or Christianity is meant to be lived.
Right. This society is so muddled and confused right now. And it needs light. It needs guidance. It needs hope. It needs joy.
Yeah.
It needs all of those things. It needs that more than condemnation, probably, but it doesn't, at the same time, the darkness must be condemned.
Exactly.
Because otherwise we can't create something good. There's too much disorder, disunity, et cetera, that it's not so much that we condemn the person, there's confusion with that. There's a lot of confusion with that for Christians in general. Is, oh, you're bigoted, you're hateful, you're resentful. No. Christians do not condemn the sinner. They don't hate the sinner. They just don't like the sin. And why is that? It's not because...
That's where we're supposed to be.
It's not, right. It's not because, like...
Supposed to hate the sin, not the sinner.
Right. And of course, like we all have to... I mean, I got to do a personal, like, interior reflection. But... like, it's not so much that we are it's about loving someone and showing them that there is a better way, and unfortunately, I have the tendency to just jump very quickly on condemning the darkness, seeing the darkness, and we don't know where people are coming from. But I think there's a misleading idea that a lot of people have that's like, well, what does it matter what you believe and what I believe? Because you don't know where they're coming from. And that's true. I don't know where people are coming from. Most of the time, just responding in love and loving someone is better than anything else. Because, even if everyone was Christian, how are we going to live? We're still going to need to live in peace and in harmony with each other, and we're still going to be tempted. It's not like once you become a Christian or Catholic that you're instantly no longer tempted towards impatience or anything like that. So we need to find a way to live in harmony with each other anyway. That's one of the things, at least to begin to transition to the books, where we can find in the holy men and women throughout the ages, they've discovered wisdom about how to live in harmony with each other as a Christian society. But I think part of the thing that's important to remember is that like various sins harm individuals, both individuals and society. As we talked about in one of the earlier videos, our individual sins, they're not just private. Every sin does affect the body as a whole, but it also affects the individual. If they think, it's no big deal if I'm doing marijuana or whatever, as an example, as a classic example. And again, it's not to condemn anyone that does it. It's just not to condemn them. But to take it as an example, if someone's not aware that marijuana can get someone high, for instance, and then they drive.
You're affecting other people.
You're affecting other people, but you're also affecting the individual. They might not be aware of the effects of marijuana, or you can take a different, heavier drug as an example. I don't know, heroin or something like that. What if you're not aware of the effects of heroin? You just take it because it feels good. Okay, it feels good. Okay, but what if you're not aware that it can make you unable to drive and you go try to drive after taking heroin? You might die that way, and that affects you. You're ignorant of it, and you're not necessarily fully culpable for it, but you're not going to live a flourishing life. What about someone that's like, they are a mountain climber? Someone that doesn't mountain climb can't know the benefits or good of mountain climbing. But someone that does do it knows those goods. And they know that the good of mountain climbing is superior than the good of doing heroin, for instance. But someone doing heroin might not see that there's a higher good. But it would be wrong to leave that person doing heroin. It would be wrong to leave that person doing heroin because it is affecting them whether they realize it or not, and they can live a better life. In the same way, certain sins that we think aren't a big deal because we're able to get by, it's true that we might not be very culpable for them, especially if we don't know better, if we don't know that they're a sin. But if someone does know that it's a sin, then we should tell someone, this is affecting you negatively, even if you're not aware of it, because there's a higher good like mountain climbing that you could be enjoying that the sin's not letting you enjoy because you're stuck. Sin causes us to become enslaved. And that's why we want to begin to renew our minds to learn what is sin and what isn't it. It's not for the purpose of condemning those people that are doing something that's not good, but a lot of times it's to help just to bring them to a greater flourishing of life where they're no longer ensnared, where there's deep things, there's deep wounded places, there's deep things that they've always felt are just, I'm always going to be miserable about this or that. They can actually get out of it and experience a better, more fruitful, and more flourishing life where it's like, I don't have to be content with a second-rate marriage. That's assuming the person isn't already married. But like, if the only people that they're in contact with regularly, they recognize, well, if I was to get married to one of these people, it would be a second-rate marriage. Well, no, what's right is to encourage them. No, you don't have to settle for that. There is something better that God has in store for you. He desires you to have a happy, holy, healthy family, or something higher, whatever that might be. He desires you to have relationship with him, with the Trinity. So I just wanted to make that point that there's a lot of darkness in the world, and part of the reason why we don't just let it have its way, and why we don't just kind of at work just let everyone do their own thing, is that if there is a right way of living, we should tell other people that and try to make it a point to live our own lives in that way so that we can be fully happy. Because it's only in God we're going to find our happiness, and in doing what he desires, because he wants us to be happy. but it will also show other people what a normal and joyful person can look like, a well-balanced person can look like, and then make them desire the same thing. It gives credibility to getting outside of the drugs and the using other people for our own gratification, for pleasure, out of the drinking culture, all the different disordered cultures of the modern day, hookup culture, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
Getting them out of that and into a more sustainable way of living where they can actually be happy.
Yeah.
I think that's why we don't want to just leave Catholicism at the door when we come into a workplace, because we need to transform this world, and that begins wherever we're at. That's our sphere of influence at the beginning, although we're trying to grow closer. Now, of course, all of this applies to us as well. That's another one of the points I wanted to make. We need to live it too. We're striving, and maybe not striving enough, but we're striving to live it too. There's many things that we need to grow in. But one of the things that I was thinking of is, there's people that have gone before us that know far more than Sean and I, and learning the lessons that they have put down throughout the years, throughout the ages, is, I think, a great way for anyone interested in knowing more to begin to have the sort of thinking that might inspire them to good deeds, to good works, to living a more ordered and fruitful life, and to know how they're supposed to do that. So I think at this point, maybe it'd be good to start putting in plugs for various authors, resources that you can go to, people that have wisdom on various topics, ways that you can begin to learn more about the Catholic faith.
Yeah, we got about like 5 minutes to we got to get going here. So yeah, I don't know if you had any particular ones in mind. I know I definitely have some authors that have been inspirational to me for different reasons, but I don't know like which avenue we were going with the literature.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, top of the mind, Han, Bergma, Grant Petrie, like, doesn't matter where you are in Christianity, like, you can turn to any one of them. And I would say, I don't remember if Brad Petrie, I don't think he was a convert, but, like, I think the reason I would recommend Han and Bergma.
and that's Scott Hahn and Dr. Bergma.
Not just because they're popular, but I think there's something about the fact that they were both converts, so they had to endure that journey. They had to do the research for their own. They've written about it, and like, so they've done all the heavy duty work for you. So like,
right,
and they write it and Brian Petrie too. They like write it in a simple way, and so I think like if you're somebody who's not Christian on the path of Christianity, or you're Christian, maybe wanting to learn more about Catholicism, or you're like interested, or you want to learn, like I think any one of those three would be a good starting point. Trent Horn's always a good bet too. He has a book called
Why We're Catholic. Yeah,
that's like a very basic book for anybody that's questioning anything Catholicism. I think he even has like a newer edition for it too, where he addresses more of the abortion related questions. That might be a separate book, I don't remember. But yeah, who were you?
Yeah, those are all great. I mean, I was thinking particularly maybe Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis is a great.
Referenced him in every video.
Yeah, I've referenced him, and honestly, a lot of where what I've thought about is from him. But Mere Christianity is a great place to begin with just basic Christian apologetics, which apologetics is just arguments for the Christian faith. Very basic place to start, but I think it's one of the best books, and a lot of the Catholic apologists out there have read it and have taken some of that work. Why We're Catholic by Trent Horn, as you said, Sean, I think is a great one to start with. Rome Sweet Home by Scott Hahn is his and Kimberly Hahn's conversion story. He was originally not even really much of anything for a while. Then he eventually became Calvinist, anti-Catholic, and eventually ended up converting to the Catholic faith through a lot of intellectual reading books. John Bergsma from Franciscan University, he is an excellent author as well, also a Calvinist convert. Plato's Republic It's not a Christian book, obviously, but it's a great place to get the wheels turning for just common sense thinking, even though obviously some of it is not even strictly speaking like Catholic doctrine. It's, so far as I understand it, it's still a great way to begin thinking better. What are some others?
Probably be a good idea.
Yeah. If you want to go, if you've got online resources, there's always Catholic Answers is kind of the database for everything Catholic. They're probably the best. Catholic Apologetics resource out there, answering any question you have about the Catholic faith. Trent Horn, Jimmy Akin, they're both apologists on Catholic Answers, and they can answer basically anything. They have shows where people from any faith can call in and ask questions about the Catholic faith. And they'll answer pretty much anything you have. They've, I believe, Trent Horn was definitely a convert. Or maybe not a convert. I think at one point he wasn't even Catholic at all. He wasn't Christian, I think, at one point. But
I'm not sure that.
I can't quote that for certainty.
Yeah,
but he's a great place to start. Yeah. Other online resources. You've got Ascension Presents. You've got Father Mike Schmitz.
You might be confused. I know he's Eastern Catholic, so you might be confusing that.
No, Trent Horn?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I think you're thinking Matt Fradd. Matt Fradd's Eastern Catholic now.
No, I know Trent Horn goes to Byzantine Mass as well.
I think he goes, but I don't think he's...
he might not be Eastern all the way.
I don't think he's Eastern Catholic, because I just watched a video on him where he said he goes there sometimes to Byzantine liturgy, but this might have been an older video. I don't know. I haven't kept up. So, but Matt Fradd is another great resource. You can research him online. Christopher West is great for theology of the body. Curtis Martin is a great online Catholic resource. Chris Stefanik, it's great. And then, of course, there's all of the other books. The Summa Theologica is a great place to go for St. Thomas Aquinas. It's big, it's beefy, but it's a good place. Confessions of St. Augustine, City of God by St. Augustine. You've got Theology for Beginners by Frank Sheed. You've also got Theology and Sanity, which is, I believe, by the same author. If it's not, look it up, and you'll be able to find the book.
Since you're mentioning Augustine, it'd probably be good to mention if you're on the fence, and like we mentioned, a lot of good Catholic theologians, but a lot of those Catholic theologians came to accept the Catholic Church through the Church Fathers. So if you're on the bridge, like if you're Christian and you're like anti-Catholic, going back to the Church Fathers, going back to the apostles, and finding your way there would be a great place for you to start as well. And, and just building the bridge from there, and that might be something that might be coming to this channel at some point. Not going to break the news here yet because it needs to be discerned, but we'll see. I have thoughts on apologetics that might be shared, but we'll see. But yeah, lots of good people, lots of good literature, lots of good resources. We ought to make use of them, and we ought to go forth as the priest or deacon says at every mass. Go do the work of the Lord. He says it differently at every mass, but go forth in peace, to love and serve the Lord and one another.
Yeah.
And we say in unity, thanks be to God.
Yeah. And I guess lastly, I just want to mention, I know in C.S. Lewis's book, Mere Christianity, he begins with a total unpacking of Christian doctrine. But he ends with saying, basically, if anyone is, ready to begin their prayers, he says, a great place might be the Lord's Prayer, and to just begin there. If anyone's at the point where they're just I'd like to begin praying. There's probably few prayers you could pray as an introductory prayer that's better than just the prayer our Lord taught us. And I guess if you wanted to end in that, we could. I want to recommend prayer as the best way to get to know God right now.
What saying it was, but one saying, I think it was under obedience too, was told to go into adoration for the whole hour and to meditate upon the Lord's Prayer, and they didn't get past the Our Father. They started Our Father and then couldn't get past, like they just got lost in like the aspect of God as Father, and like I want to say it was Teresa of Avila, but I don't remember for certain. But just that like reality of what you just said, like praying the Our Father and like reflecting on what the Our Father actually means, and just like reality of like if we actually broke apart. And I actually talk about this in my book, like the creed. Like if we actually broke apart every aspect of the creed, we actually recognize what we're professing at every mass. But that's a tangent for the book and another day. But yeah,
maybe another video we could unpack the Our Father.
Yeah,
maybe.
But yeah, we should close. Because of timing, let's close with the glory be. Glory be to the
Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be.
Forever.
Amen.